All right, so we're diving into this personal finance excerpt you sent over.
Mm-hmm.
The advice itself is pretty solid, but I
Yeah.
gotta say, this story about this tightrope walker, Charles Blondin, that's what really hooked me.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of him?
Oh, Blondin, yeah. How could you forget a story like that?
Right.
He was a Frenchman way back in the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
Famous for, well, walking across Niagara Falls on a tightrope.
Wait, hold on. Across the falls
Yeah.
on a tightrope.
Yep. 160 feet above the water, no safety net or anything, just a rope.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to grasp the level of risk he was taking, right?
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so how does this tie back into personal finance?
Well, the author uses Blondin to make a point about investing.
Okay.
It's not just about understanding the ideas, it's about having the courage, the guts, to actually act on them.
I see. So it's one thing to know what you should be doing, but it's another thing entirely to actually do it.
Exactly. And that's where that whole wheelbarrow story comes in.
Oh, right, right. Blondin and the wheelbarrow.
So picture this. He's already walking across this tightrope, right?
160 feet in the air.
160 feet in the air. And then he gets this crazy idea to push a wheelbarrow across, too.
A wheelbarrow.
A wheelbarrow.
What?
He asks the crowd if they think he can do it, and everyone's going wild, cheering him on, believing in him.
Yeah, they must have been losing their minds.
And then, get this, he points to someone in the crowd and says, "All right, get in."
Whoa, hold on.
Would you have gotten in that wheelbarrow?
Ugh, I don't even know.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you think about all those times in life where you believe something is a good idea, but when it comes to actually doing it, you just, I don't know, freeze up.
Yeah, you hesitate.
Yeah, you hesitate, exactly.
And the author ties this to a specific financial concept from the book, the idea of calculated risk.
Okay, so like Blondin assessed the risk of the tightrope walk, we should be doing the same with our investments.
Precisely, he's saying don't just blindly jump into anything. Do your research, understand the market, know your investment options, and then make an informed decision.
So it's not about being reckless. It's about, weighing potential gains against potential losses.
Exactly.
And he also talks about diversification, right?
Yes.
I feel like that's a perfect example of calculated risk.
Absolutely.
Instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, you spread out your investments to manage those potential losses.
Yeah, it's like Blondin, He didn't just rely on the tightrope, he used a balancing pole, too.
Oh, right.
Carefully considered his every step, thought about what could go wrong.
So in investing, diversification is like your balancing pole.
It is. It helps you stay steady when things get a little shaky.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But, it seems like a lot of people get stuck on that first step.
Mm-hmm.
They understand the idea of investing. They might even have some money set aside, but they just can't seem to take that leap.
Yeah, that's really where Blondin's story becomes so powerful.
Yeah.
It highlights that gap between knowing and doing,
Right.
You could have the best financial plan in the world, but if you don't act on it, it's just a piece of paper.
So how do we bridge that gap? I mean, does the author give any advice on how to overcome that initial fear, take that first step?
Well, he actually dedicates a whole chapter to building what he calls a risk tolerance portfolio.
Okay.
He argues that everyone has a different level of risk they're comfortable with, and the key is to figure out yours, not someone else's.
So it's not about comparing yourself to others or trying to follow the latest investment trends.
Yep.
It's about understanding what level of risk you can stomach and then making decisions that align with that.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Finding your own personal tightrope.
Right.
One that pushes you but doesn't, totally freak you out.
Exactly. And he actually gives some advice on how to build that portfolio.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. One thing he suggests is starting small.
Small.
Don't feel like you have to go all in right away.
Okay, so like baby steps.
Kind of. Remember Blondin? He probably didn't start by walking across Niagara Falls.
Yeah, good point.
He had to work his way up to it, right?
Ah.
Build his skills, get comfortable.
Yeah.
So the author suggests starting with a small amount of money, something you're comfortable potentially losing.
Okay.
It's like dipping your toes in the water.
So you can get a feel for things.
Exactly. You learn the ropes, gain some experience without risking too much.
So it's more about the learning process at first
Yeah.
than chasing huge returns right out of the gate.
Absolutely. And then as you gain more knowledge, more experience, you can gradually increase how much you invest.
Okay,
Maybe take on a little more risk.
I see.
It's about finding that balance between caution and growth.
Gotcha. He also mentioned something called emotional discipline in the book,
Oh, yeah.
which sounds a little, I don't know, intimidating.
Yeah, it's where Blondin's steady nerves come in.
Okay.
Investing isn't just about numbers and strategies. It's
Mhm.
also about managing your emotions.
So Don't let fear or greed cloud your judgment.
Exactly. The market can be unpredictable.
Yeah.
Things go up, things go down.
It's a roller coaster.
It is, and it's easy to get caught up in the hype or the panic.
Right.
But the author says the most successful investors, they're the ones who can stay calm,
Okay.
stick to their plan, even when everything inside them is screaming to do the opposite.
So it's like Blondin staying focused on the rope, even with the wind and the crowds.
Yeah.
He had to tune everything out and just concentrate.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
And the author, he gives some tips for developing that emotional discipline.
Oh, like what?
One thing he says is to have a clear investment plan
Okay.
and write it down.
So it's not just floating around in your head.
Right. It's concrete,
I mean-
something you can refer back to when you're feeling unsure.
Gotcha.
He also recommends avoiding constantly checking your portfolio
Oh, okay.
because obsessively watching those numbers go up and down just fuels those emotional reactions.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like trying to walk a tightrope while staring at the ground.
Right.
You're just going to get dizzy and lose your balance.
Exactly. Focus on the path ahead, just like Blondin.
I really like how you keep bringing it back to the tightrope walker story.
Well, it's just such a powerful image, isn't it?
It is. It's not every day you find a personal finance book that reads like an adventure story.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so effective.
Yeah.
You know, it takes these dry financial concepts and makes them exciting.
Right. Who wouldn't want to learn about investing from a guy who walked across Niagara Falls on a tightrope?
Seriously. But it's not all just story. He backs it up with solid advice and tips.
Yeah, it's a good balance of the two.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting. This historical narrative, a compelling metaphor, and genuinely useful advice all woven together.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that sometimes the best lessons come from the most unexpected places.
Speaking of unexpected, he mentioned something I hadn't really thought about before. He says that taking calculated risks in our finances can actually have a positive impact on other areas of our lives.
That's interesting. What do you think he means by that?
Well, he argues that the confidence and skills we develop from making informed financial decisions, they can spill over, you know.
Okay.
It's like if we learn to assess risk and make smart choices with our money, we might be more likely to take calculated risks in our careers or our personal lives.
I see. So it's like the skills Blondin developed on the tightrope, they made him a better performer overall.
Exactly.
He learned balance, focus, risk management.
And he could apply those skills to other parts of his act.
Yeah, so it's not just about building wealth. It's about building a more confident, empowered version of ourselves,
I like that.
expanding our comfort zones, realizing we're capable of more than we think.
And who knows, maybe taking that first financial step, like Blondin stepping onto the tightrope, it could be the start of a whole chain reaction of positive changes. It's kind of wild how, a story about a tightrope walker from the 1800s can be so relevant to our lives today.
It really is.
Makes you wonder, what are our own tightrope moments?
Oh, it could be anything, right?
Yeah?
Maybe it's finally starting that business you've always dreamed of, even though it seems risky.
Or having that tough conversation you've been putting on.
Yeah, exactly.
With a loved one, even if it's uncomfortable.
Or maybe it's just finally opening that investment account.
Right.
Even if you're a little intimidated by it all.
Yeah, totally.
And it's important to remember those tightrope moments, they don't always have to be huge, life-changing decisions.
Okay.
Sometimes they're small, everyday choices that, over time can lead to big changes.
So like finally sticking to that budget you made?
Yeah.
Or deciding to learn a new skill that could help you at work?
Exactly. Those small acts of courage, stepping outside your comfort zone.
They can make a big difference.
They can. They build momentum.
Yeah.
Create this sense of possibility.
It's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Right. Or in this case, a single step onto the tightrope.
Exactly.
And that step, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
Remember, even Blondin probably wobbled a bit up there.
Yeah, totally.
The important thing is to just keep moving forward.
Even when it's scary.
Even when it's scary, yeah.
So for you listening right now, what's your tightrope moment? What's that thing you're hesitant to act on, even though deep down you know it could be good for you?
Take a minute, really think about it.
What's holding you back?
Is it fear of failure, lack of confidence, or maybe you just feel overwhelmed by the whole thing?
Yeah, once you figure out what those roadblocks are, you can start to break them down, right?
Right. Maybe it's as simple as doing some research, talking to someone who's already done it, or just starting small and gradually building up.
And remember, you don't have to go it alone.
No, you don't.
Like Blondin had his balancing pole.
You've got resources, support systems,
people to help you along the way.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe by taking that first step, that first tightrope walk, you'll discover strengths and abilities you never even knew you had.
It happens all the time.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Yeah.
But hopefully this has given you some things to think about.
Some food for thought.
Maybe even inspired you to take a leap of faith on your own tightrope moment.
And if you do, we'd love to hear about it.
Yes. Keep those deep dive requests coming.
And we'll keep exploring these fascinating topics together.
Until next time, keep diving.